Hello, I'm Chris Bonatti, President of IECA. While you enjoy some of the beautiful Wyoming outdoors behind me, I'd like to briefly introduce you to our firm and share a strange anecdote about how trying to reach too high can lead to disaster. As you may know, IECA is a consulting firm with 25 years of history in a wide array of technical topics. We offer our cybersecurity consulting services to industry, government, and the academic community. IECA has long supported the federal government on a variety of assignments, but we remain a small business and we're based here in Casper, Wyoming. It should be obvious to just about everyone at this point that cybersecurity threats have reached crisis proportions around the world. Unfortunately, this recognition has not universally spurred the right kind of action. The situation has received a lot of attention from the press and governments. A key action by our federal government was to create the U.S. Cyber Command, led by the super-secret National Security Agency. Unfortunately, I think this move created a false public impression that U.S. warfighters were going to protect U.S. government and businesses from cyber attacks. Add to this the frequent news about the highly constrained cyber workforce and the Cyber Command's efforts to recruit into this partial vacuum, stressed an image of somehow winning the cyber war based on strength of numbers, outnumbering the enemy. Cybersecurity, much less cyber war, is not something we're going to win by having more bodies on hand. As with many domains of modern warfare, victory will go to those who are smarter and better prepared. So a lot of U.S. organizations remain behind the power curve because they've too long believed the government would somehow save them from having to protect themselves in cybersecurity. Other organizations have kept their figurative heads in the sand because they thought they don't have anything worth protecting, or they're not on the radar of global threat groups. All of these things are forms of what I would term denial, a mindset that often leads to disaster. Cybersecurity is a relatively new concept that in some ways has displaced some of the old security concepts. I was there before cyber, and I remember how we defined disciplines like ComSec, TransSec, CompuSec, and a lot of other secs. We also knew what offensive cyber was. We just called it hacking. We teased these concepts apart, defined what they meant, and determined best practices for each. Of course, the massive interconnectedness that came with internet growth showed that none of these concepts could be dealt with entirely by itself. So that today we deal with all of these under the general and more broader heading of cybersecurity. While this is good, it has resulted in all of these concepts being poured into just one big bucket, making it more challenging to explain or establish comprehensible best practices. Fortunately, some good work has also been done by the federal government that can tremendously benefit the public in improving their cybersecurity readiness level. I'm speaking, of course, about the efforts of the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST, an agency under the U.S. Department of Commerce that has been involved in computer security standards since the topic has been around. NIST's mission in this area is formally to create standards and advise government departments on security for unclassified systems. In this capacity, NIST has created some excellent guidelines that can help you secure your enterprise. One of these is the NIST Cybersecurity Framework, and the other, perhaps more importantly, is NIST Special Publication 800-53, describing security and privacy controls. Complementing, or perhaps competing with, these documents are the Center for Internet Security's, or CIS, security controls, and the Payment Card Industry, or PCI, data security standards. Unfortunately, the page count on all of this stuff mounts up to the hundreds, and it's often difficult for non-professionals to get their bearings. I had an acquaintance in Virginia who was a small retailer. He wasn't one of our clients, and unfortunately, I only became involved in the story when it was too late to really help him. When the Defense Department imposed cybersecurity requirements on its contractors in 2016, with another 100-some pages of NIST documents, he erroneously became convinced that his business needed certification because some of his customers were DoD and military offices. After 2 years of spinning his wheels in a deep sea of what he found to be confusing paper, he had still made zero progress on securing his business. What followed was predictable. A malicious harvester spread from his company email to their point-of-sale system. The malware ransacked their customer payment card information, with the actors responsible selling the information on the dark web later in the year. This business is out of business today, but it's crystal clear to me that just a few simple changes to their operations could have prevented the disaster. They owe their downfall to failure to respond to the increasing threat, and they owe their hesitation to complex frameworks and roadmaps. I think IECA could have prevented this catastrophe had we been engaged sooner. We would have known to institute some basic network segmentation and prioritize integrity and authentication controls in the payment system, rather than letting them spin their wheels for 2 years and never achieve NIST compliance. The trick is in knowing what's important. We do, and we would relish an opportunity to talk to you about your organization's cybersecurity challenges. You can get in touch with us through Cyber Wyoming or at our website at IECA.com. Thanks for watching.